We all set? Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of Osoyoos Town Council, Monday, April the 4th, 2016, 2 o'clock in Council Chambers. We'll call the meeting to order, and first we have some adoption of minutes. The Committee of the Whole minutes from March the 21st, 2016, the regular open minutes from March the 21st, 2016, and the public hearing minutes from March the 21st, 2016. I need a motion, please, to adopt those. Thank you. Youngberg, Campbell. All in favor? Thank you. Business arising from the minutes. We have one item. Can I read it now? And then we'll adopt it? Okay. This is a motion from our in-camera meeting. Moved by Councillor Campbell, seconded by Councillor Rhodes, that Council authorize administration to enter into a memorandum of understanding with CUPE Local 608 for the use of union staff for the purpose of maintaining all public washrooms, Town Hall, Fire Hall, Planning Office, Destination Osoyoos, and Public Works buildings for a 3-year term, and that the $20,000 budget shortfall be taken from the contingency fund. And this was carried. So do we need a motion to adopt the business? To accept the business. Thank you. That's Rhodes, Campbell. All in favor? Thank you. And introduction of late items. We have one introduction of late items. It's a special thing that we have on invasive mussels, and that will be under business 4. Business 1, because there's no other business there. Business 1 will be the invasive mussels. Could I have a motion, please, to accept that under Business 1? Thank you. Campbell, Youngberg, all in favor. Thank you. Delegations, no. And next is water matters. And that would be Mr. Romenko. You're first.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. This is the District Water Bylaw Amendment. Identifying water restrictions. At the November 23rd, 2015 meeting, the following motion was passed with all members of council present, including water councillors. Moved by Councillor King and seconded by Councillor Youngberg, and resolved the council approves that Osoyoos Water District Rates and Regulations Bylaw 1241/2008 be rewritten to implement domestic water restrictions consistent with the town for irrigation districts 8 and 9. This motion was taken out of in camera at the March 21st, 2016 meeting. The attached draft bylaw 1241.09/2016 and related schedules is presented for Council's debate and decision. Changes that were written into this bylaw include 1, addition of Article 6.2 that clarifies further the control of domestic water service as per the attached Schedule F. 2, the attached Schedule F is exactly the same watering schedule as the town. Schedule F provides for the elimination of domestic watering of lawns and moves to an odd-even schedule as per the norm. 3, additional permit as Schedule G for watering of new sod is exactly like the town for permit for the same use. First 3 readings of the bylaw can be done on April 4th, and the final approval can be completed April 18th. Administration is scheduling the bylaw to become effective April 18th. However, May 2nd, 2016 will be the start for bylaw enforcement. This schedule will allow 2 weeks for initiation of education and information. In terms of implications, the residents' and businesses' ability to water on all days will be eliminated. Administration is recommending increases in fines that will be included in a changed MTI bylaw. Organizationally, work will have to be done to advertise these changes and educate the public. The intention is to hire a summer student that will be involved in the education and monitoring process. Budget, cost of the summer student to provide education and monitoring. significant dates. Early approval will enable early implementation. In terms of sustainability, increased water conservation will result from the proposed amendments. The options being presented are: 1. Council approves the recommended bylaw number 1241.09, 2016 for first 3 readings. 2. Council denies the recommended bylaw number 1241.09, 2016 and provides another schedule or direction. The administration recommends option number 1, approval of first 3 readings of this bylaw and this bylaw amendment, and subsequent final approval at the April 18th council meeting will enable implementation of the amendments prior to the peak watering seasons. And it's been pointed out to me that there was an administrative error in the attached bylaw on page 22 of 51. Article number 5 should read actually stage 3. No watering, no lawn watering instead of stage 4. So it's presented for council.
Thank you very much. We've gone through this a few times and talked about this, so I think we're quite familiar with the reasons why we are we're concerned about this particular bylaw. Did you have a question, Mr.?
No, I was going to make the motion.
Oh, and so please do.
I'd like to move option number 1, that council approves the recommended amended bylaw 1241.09, 2016 for the first 3 readings.
Could we have one of the water councillors second that? Okay, that's all right. Any discussion about this? Councillor King.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess you mentioned increase in fines. Is that just a minimal increase, Barry?
We haven't brought the MTI bylaw out, but what basically we did in an initial discussion is that we eliminated the top, what was the norm, and just slid everything up. So in essence, we'll take a look at the fines when the MTI is done, but it won't be. There isn't a significant increase from what is in the existing bylaw. A good chance it'll be here on the 18th, yes.
Okay. Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Just for clarity, that does not include the bylaw that we're debating right now, though. That's a separate matter.
Yes, the MTI bylaw is the fines that are associated for breaking this particular amendment.
Right.
Okay. So we have on the table option 1, that we approve the recommended bylaw for first 3 readings. All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. Next is the water twinning, water systems 8 and 9, and that will be Mr. Dinwoody, and I see we have some help from Mr. Underwood as well, correct?
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a capital budget update, if you will, for our project, which is the twinning of water systems 8 and 9. Originally, when this was brought to council, we were asking for $300,000. We would now like to increase that to $900,000 because we have received a grant to perform some of this work. So basically, the project description is this project is the starting point to twin water system 8 and consists of extending the existing 250 milliliter water main north as far as 148th Avenue. It includes board crossings of both Highway 3 and 97, and it would service approximately 132 domestic connections in the rural area. The purpose of this particular project, in accordance with conditions of the town's water systems operating permit as issued by Interior Health, options for System 8 and System 9 compliance with the Drinking Water Protection Act were assessed in 2007. In a report dated August of 2008, a long-range compliance plan is described comprising a twin domestic water system in the service areas of Systems 8 and 9, which would be supplied by the town's municipal wells system. This project is the first phase in the implementation of the plan to comply with IHA and the Drinking Water Protection Act. The estimated time frame for completion is the project could be started as early as, tendered as early as May of this year, with construction beginning as soon as June. It would carry on into the autumn of 2016 and probably be completed in 2017 before they could actually finish it all. Project implementation, operation services, True Consulting, and the successful contractor would all be involved in the completion of this project. Right now, we're saying for public consultation, none, but what we would probably do is have an information session to describe to people where exactly we are beginning in System H, show them on maps where we'd like to do, what we are proposing to do. So we would probably have an open house to inform the public as to where we're starting and where we're going with this particular project. Potential impacts if this project is not approved is the town's water systems 8 and 9 will continue to be in non-compliance with the Drinking Water Protection Act, and the town could have our water system operating permit revoked by Interior Health.
Good. Thank you very much. I think that we were very fortunate to get a grant that covers, I think, about 2/3 of this.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, particular thing. I do certainly appreciate having the color-coded maps. I think that is very helpful when people are trying to see where their house might be.
Yes.
And when they would be involved in this. So it's a huge project, and it's going to take several years to get it done. So we're just looking at phase 1 at the moment.
Yes.
And
we've chosen this particular section of System 8 because, like I said, it has the most domestic services.
okay. Is somebody going to to talk to the implementation? Would that be
Sure, Mr. Underwood could.
Mr. Underwood's going to do that?
Certainly.
We need to have a microphone for you. I don't know whether yours was on either, Jim. Your microphone.
Hello?
Yeah.
It was. Okay, we got it. He has a soft voice, that's why.
Put it in my pocket?
I could yell there. That's better.
Yep, yep. Does that work? Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, wow. Technology. I guess it's been, the twinning project has been, I looked at my files, and I'm a keeper of files that, I don't throw anything away. And first talk of twinning was in 2006. So here we are 10 years later, finally being able to have a green light to put some pipe in the ground. So I thought it would be appropriate maybe just to cover some of the history, if I might,
Yes,
briefly.
please do.
Do you want to skip to the next one, please? As I said, the twinning program objective is to provide drinking water, as Jim mentioned, compliant with IHA standards, and that's the fourth 321 means 4 log reduction of viruses, 3 log reduction of cryptosporidium, which we achieve 0 of right now, 2 treatment processes, which currently we only have, I would call it a half of one. We chlorinate, but we don't have adequate contact time. So we're 1.5 processes deficient. 1 means consistent turbidity of 1. When the lake gets algae in it, we get numbers higher than that. So on all the report card items, 4321, 0 being 0 fecal coliforms, by and large the system meets it, but by and large is not good enough. It has to consistently meet. That's the objective of IHA. In 2008, we looked at 3 principal options. One was filter every gallon of water that's pumped by both systems, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that treating to 43210 water that's destined for the fruit trees and the vineyards out there just doesn't make any sense. We also looked at, instead of building a twin system or treating everything, why not put a separate treatment little box on each house? There would be approximately 500. By the time you add up the 500 cost and the cost for the town to own and operate all 500, because the responsibility wouldn't pass to the homeowner, it would stay with the town. That one quickly dropped out because of the operating costs. So the twinning plan was formally adopted by council in 2008, endorsed by IHA 2009, and we made grant applications, I think, in 2009. I can't find some of them, the exact dates are unclear, but I'm sure 2009, 2010, 2012. So we've been persistent. And finally, in 2015, the grant application was approved. Move on. I think it's really important to understand what's been approved and how it's to be designed. For the most part, the twinning systems are designed to maintain the current level of rural fire protection. Very important in that we're going to be able to maintain about 500 gallons a minute fire flow to everywhere in the district, or in both System 8 and 9. In many cases, it'll be more, but this is the minimum. And the objective is to keep the cost reasonable. If we start designing every lateral out there for full municipal fire protection, the cost would be substantially higher. It's also important to note that the ministry who approves these grant applications likes to put the money into improving drinking water quality, not improving fire flow for the benefit of the insurance industry. And in fact, we have one client who is very successful at getting grants, one regional district client, and they put fire flow to be provided 0. And if the residents want it, they pay extra. So this is important to notice that we're maintaining existing, and there'll be some improvements, but it will fall short of what we call full municipal standards in the majority of cases. The majority of rural properties, so a typical rural property will still have his or her irrigation service, still have the ability to use that service as he or she has normally done over the years. They will have a new domestic service from the twin system, which will be metered. And we're metering that service because we don't want uncontrolled use of the groundwater supplied municipal system water on fruit trees and gardens and stuff like that when there is an existing low-cost infrastructure in place. The supply, as I mentioned, will come from the town. Initially, it's coming from what we call the 402 pressure-reduced water line, which currently ends about Mariposa. In the longer term, once we figure out whether or not some of the municipal, the Willow Beach area will sort of step up to the plate for a higher level of service. If that happens, then we will build a reservoir up at the north end at their cost, obviously. If not, we will build a new reservoir and booster station as an extension of 74th Avenue, where the existing stuff is. But we don't want to make that decision until we know for sure what's going to happen at the north end. Next, please. So here's the map of the overall area. I again like finally getting some color on them a little bit. I can't figure out why we have to have two purples. But anyway, baby steps. So what's being approved is the green, which is the roughly 2/3 of System 8 starting at 74th Avenue. That's what's being approved under the grant. The grant application said that we would do the rest of the areas as 3 separate phases. So you would have the area north of the green, and then in System 9 we've got a purple section and a blue section. I'll talk about the gold in a minute. We picked the south half of System 8 because it has the largest number of connections, 132, although some parts of System 9 are close. One of the drivers of the project was, at the time that the whole project evolved, is the Ministry of Health was receiving applications from developers at the north end of Osoyoos Lake to build a separate water system to service development. And the IHA stepped in and said, that makes 0 sense. It really makes no sense to have a proliferation of water systems when that developer could help the town of Osoyoos provide not only potable water to his development, but help cushion the cost to the existing community. And that was one of the key drivers of the twinning plan back in 2008, 2009. Next, please. So we have, over the last several weeks, we've updated the phasing plan a little bit. Can we skip to the next one? The major change is at the north end of System 8. So rather than having a green and the whole thing purple, we've now divided it into a purple and a gold section. The gold section, or yellow section, is the area that would change if the developers at the north end come on board and participate in the system costs. So you would build different infrastructure at the north end depending on whether we're servicing Willow Beach and possibly other developers, or we're not, or we're extending just rural. So that decision, obviously you want to delay making until you have a firm idea of what the others may do at the north end. So that's the reason why we sort of have a gold group there. So the same design criteria would apply to the green and the purple. That wouldn't change. It's just the gold area at the end. And if the developers come on board, the cost at the north end is roughly $1.5 million, of which their share would be $1 million, or 2/3. Next, please. We've also had a look at approaching System 9, and can we skip to the next one? So in System 9, the key to getting water service to what we call the area east of the highway, which would be the blue area, is to get, it's coming from the town system, so we have to build the supply main first, and that's the gold line in the highway corridor. There's a 10-inch pipe that will go all the way from Hummingbird Lane all the way out to 32nd Avenue, which provides the source of water to the blue area. And on the other hand, the purple area would be supplied from existing infrastructure that's going to be starting through the Wren Place development. That's from 74th. So in terms of System 9, the logical first step would be to build the supply main out there, and then you could, at that point, build either the blue or the purple, or in fact, you could, if you wanted, move the purple up. There's a lot more flexibility on System 9 because it's an east-west division versus System 8, which is north-south. As I mentioned, after Phase 1, there's options for Phase 2. We've provided a summary of the number of connections in each of the phased areas. Again, right now there's it's fixed that we're going to do the south half of System 8. There's flexibility going forward on what's done next in terms of Phase 2. The construction phase, so the Phase 1 construction phase, the grant application said we would do it in 4 contracts. And this is a sort of this is our experience in terms of most cost-effective way to do it from the Oliver Twinning program. When we learned very early in the game, do not call one large contract because there's only half a dozen contractors in the province that could potentially provide that kind of bonding and security. So after learning our lesson, everything in Oliver was done, numerous contracts, breaking it up into contracts of up to $1 million plus or minus, what made logical sense. We didn't want to kind of flood the market with construction. We were able to employ and use contractors that were local, which is obviously a plus. Many of the contractors, their crews started out as very, very green people at the start. At the end of the work in Oliver, they were skilled tradesmen, as it were, in terms of utility work, which is again a plus. So in the grant application, we said that we would undertake the project in 4 contracts over a 2-year period. We focus on spring and fall because that's when you can build here, and you can't build in Prince George, for instance, in those time periods, so we get better pricing. And of course, we have to stay away from the Highway 97 corridor in the summer. Highways would let us on there anyway. So let's skip to the next one. And we just put something together for discussion. Nothing is etched in stone, but we've divided System 8 area up into 4 contracts. We call Contract 1, which would be the extension right up in here off of 87th Street. We picked that because most of the kind of the basic design drawings and stuff were done already because we sewered the area through the northwest sector. So that's one area that we could bring on very quickly. Other areas that we can bring on, and we haven't. This is for fine tuning, but there's some areas in the area of Mariposa and Meadowlark that again we have existing drawings and surveys and all the stuff that is necessary for the design. We have done that on previous projects, so we could, subject to talking to the town and the water councilors, we would finalize that area. So contract 1 could include some areas over there. And then you can see we've got, obviously you start from the town end, so contract 2 is in yellow, contract 3 is in green, and contract 4. Those areas are kind of just for illustrative purposes. And last, it would be kind of our preliminary schedule. As Jim mentioned, we are currently putting some designs together for what we're calling the area that we've identified as contract 1, and we could tender that as early as June of this year, with the idea in blue, contract 1 would proceed in August. So in August, contractors are going to be mobilizing and figuring things out, talking to the people, and we would put pipe in the ground in earnest in September, October, and November. Often what happens is we don't get all of the paving done, so there's a little blip in April for paving next year. May or may not happen depending on the progress. And this paving is done as the project proceeds. We don't sort of leave it as a global war zone and then come back and pave it. It's restored as it goes. And then you can see the next one would be, we would be aiming to tender in September of this year. With that one would be start in October, November, carry on right through till next April and on. And last but not least, I didn't put it on the drawing, but there would be there's an opportunity that we may have to pave a little bit in 2018. This was the schedule, more or less, without being specific, that was described in the grant application.
Good.
And that's it.
Terry, could you just clarify, so if you, so the first phase, you tender, you construct, will people be able to get water, will they have full water service before the other, they'll have full water service after that?
That's correct.
Okay, so some people will have full water service in a year. Yeah.
Some of them would have full water service. Well, through the winter they're getting groundwater anyway, right?
Yes.
So there'll be no change in service through the winter. But starting next spring, there's going to be a large number that would, in that area, that would be on the twin system.
So it'll just be 2 years to complete that whole area. That's what you're saying, by April
Yep.
18.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. The four, splitting it up into 4 different contractors, is it conceivable that one contractor could bid on all 4 and be awarded those if the criteria, or
Yes.
are they eliminated as they go along, or?
No, it's very possible that you can, same contractor could bid on all 4. The problem he's going to have is that some of these overlap, and they just don't have the resources to do it. And also, there's usually, the contractor we're looking for is the mid-size one, I would call it, that typically does a project in the 500 to 1.5 million dollar range, where the owner is often cases is, the chief equipment operator or whatever, right? I mean, so those kind of people have a bonding limit, and their security companies typically allow them one contract at a time. It's not until they're substantially complete that they can. So in Oliver, as an example, we had one contractor would do a job, and then while he's working on that one, the next two would go to somebody else. He'd be done, and he would skip to what would be the one number 4 down the road. But you're quite right. There's no reason why the same guy couldn't bid on all 4 and be successful on all 4, as long as he meets the criteria of in the tender form.
Okay, does that? So it sounds good, doesn't it? I mean, I think we've been waiting long enough for this, so we're certainly in agreement that we get this thing started. So what's next step?
I think the next step we talked about was the need for confirmation of what's the next phase. We hear a lot about grants potentially going to be available, shovel-ready type of grants, and what we're looking for as well is council's direction relative to the next phase. As Terry pointed out, Jim, did you have? Oh, okay. As Terry pointed out, we can continue to go north, or we can go south, and having that direction will assist us in at least doing some preliminary engineering, so that the grant application can be made.
Ready.
And so that's kind of what we're looking at now. I think if we flip back to the page where we have the number of services.
No, keep going back. Back.
There.
Not this one? No. This lists them all, but I think there's the one. So this is what this is phase 1 now, and so phase 2 could be that. Phase 2 could be the gold. Phase 2 could be some parts of the purple. I think we've talked about perhaps the right thing to do the next time is for the next phase would be the gold. Isn't that right, Jim?
Yeah.
What I've done with the proposed revised 5-year water capital plan was phase 1, which we talked about, would be the first project to do. The second project that that I've got in there to start in 2018 was the gold section heading out towards System 9. What I also included in the revised potential capital plan was the System 9 in the blue next, and the System 9 into the west as the third item to complete with grant funding availability. And it was because of the number of connections that were available that I used that rationale for setting up our timing on here.
Did you have a question, Councillor King?
I was
Okay.
looking at the map there, and those are the most connections, so it makes sense.
So we've applied for this one. We've got the money. We're ready to go. So what we're looking at is choosing the next phase and getting ready to apply for those
That's right.
grants.
So Jim, just clarify, we're bringing a change to the 5-year capital plan to council,
Correct.
and you've outlined the next phases in this 5-year capital plan. So by approving the capital plan, council in fact is providing direction as to what the next phases are going to be.
That can be. So what I've got is phase 1, the System 8 South project is the first one that we're doing. The second one that we'd be proposing to do in 2018 is phase 3, and that's System 8 Southwest Sector Supply Main and Highway 97 twinning. So that's that supply main getting to station or System 9. The third one, which we would make grant application based on my revised plan is System 9 East, and the fourth one would be System 9 West, which would be in projects being done in 2019 and 2020. That's if we got grant funding availability. If we didn't get grant funding availability, then it would be council's decision if they were going to borrow or if they were going to slow down the construction portion again, but at least having it in a 5-year capital plan and something for administration to begin looking for grant opportunities as well.
Okay. Do either of the water councilors are you okay with this, or did you have anything to? Okay, you're fine with it? Okay, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you again. Can you just run by the math of this again for me? I think I have an understanding, but the town portion of this is not increasing. Am I correct in that? We're
Correct.
Moving it forward?
We are basically moving this project forward substantially because of the grant funding.
Right.
We're not proposing any additional fee increases over and above what we've already proposed through our 5-year plans. So that being said, this is a really good news story. If we are to get that additional grant funding, again, we're able to expedite this construction of this project much further.
Yep.
It's just if we don't get any additional grant funding, then will be a decision that council will have to make. Are we going to borrow funds to complete this project, or slow down the construction and go back to what we were in Plan A of doing smaller components to get the project done.
So if Phase 1 is going to take from now until 2018 in April, as from what I saw, then we would get the next grant ready to be done next year, so that we would have that in place, or do we wait until 2018? How do you work those?
Well, it all depends when the grant calls are.
Oh, okay.
It's the Small Communities Grant. They're doing another call this April, but my understanding is that this was a special call, so there'll be another call for projects within a year. There's also federal. We keep on hearing about all this federal infrastructure funding that's supposed to be coming out. So there potentially could be another call on for projects. So having the preliminary estimates available is really a positive to make the applications. So we may not, again, depending on when the call for projects comes, it may not be until 2018, depending on whether or not how the funders put the project calls out.
But you obviously need to have it ready, so
we
that
wanted to have it ready,
so that it's okay. Terry.
I would just like to add that one in the dreaded application form, and they're not the easiest things to fill out, but one of the questions is this project in the applicant's capital plan?
Mm.
And it's one of those ones that's kind of mandatory. If you check no, I think you just about
yeah.
So I think that's what
Perfect.
What Barry's referring to as well.
Okay, so looks good. I think, what is it that you require?
This particular section was more broad information for council, and then later on Director Zach will be addressing the 5-year capital plan, right?
Yes, it would be prudent if we got a council resolution, and appropriately water councilors as well, for the 2008 or 16 change. Then I'm bringing forward a financial plan amendment to deal with all of these changes over the 5-year period, so that we can have our financial plan amended to include all of these changes. But if we do a resolution to that's basically giving me the move forward, rather than doing it in a financial plan where the water councilors don't have a vote.
Okay. Councilor Rhodes?
Director Zacco, sounds like a no-brainer to me. Definitely a good news story. Just for clarity, do you want that done now?
Okay.
Okay, I'd be prepared to make that motion.
To approve the the budget changes as presented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And seconded?
Or do you want the water councilors to do it?
As long as the water councilors are voting on this, that's the most important part.
So would you like to, when you've got it done, read us the motion?
Can you come up with a motion, Jim? Can you?
That council approves the changes to the water capital plan as presented. Five-year water capital plan as presented.
That's pretty good for being put on the spot.
Plan,
As presented.
as presented. And that was moved by Councillor Rhodes and Councillor Campbell. So is there anybody wanting to ask questions about this? All in favor of this? Thank you, that's carried. Thank you very much. Now, is there something else that we need to do with the water twinning?
Nope.
No?
That's all the
Okay.
water twinning right now. We can move on to the bylaws section.
The town water bylaw.
Yes.
Okay. So we are, that would be Mr. Romanko.
Thank you. This report is to deal with the town water bylaw amendment in terms of the restrictions component. At the November 23rd, 2015, the following motion was passed at an in-camera with all members of council present, including water councillors. Moved by Councillor Rhodes and seconded by Councillor Campbell, and resolved that council approves that water conservation and stage restriction bylaw number 1273, 2011 be rewritten to have the current stage 1 restrictions, alternate day watering, as the new water conservation normal stage effective April 15th, 2016. The motion was taken out of in-camera at the March 21, 2016 council meeting. The attached amendment to Bylaw 1273.01 2016 and related schedules is presented for Council's consideration and decision. The changes that were written into this bylaw include removal of everyday watering as the norm and making even odd day watering the norm. 2, as an effort to increase conservation through decreasing watering during warmer periods, manual sprinkling was changed to 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., a decrease of 1 hour because it used to go until 11 a.m., and from 6 p.m. to midnight, a decrease of 1 hour with a change. It used to be
7.
at 7, yeah. Point 3, the addition of a power washing permit for commercial buildings, with a change that the permit be issued to the building owner or lessee. This permit was in place last year by council resolution, but was issued to the business that was doing the power washing. We've moved it to the people who have owned a building or leased a business in the building. And number 4, addition of a permit for the use of a commercial mister. Again, this was done by, this permit was issued last year by resolution of council, and this is for activities such as restaurants that have a mister over top of their eating, in the eating areas on the patios, and also the use of a mister on the sidewalks. The permits identified number 3, number 4 were issued last year under direction of a resolution of council. First 3 readings of the bylaw can be completed April 4th, and the final approval be completed April 18th. Administration is scheduling the bylaw to become effective April 18th. However, May 2nd would be the start day of the bylaw enforcement. This schedule will allow 2 weeks for initiation of education and information. In terms of implications, residents and businesses' ability to water on all days will be eliminated. Administration is also recommending increasing the fines that will be included in the MTI bylaw, and that will be done probably at the next meeting for first 3 readings. Organizationally, the work will be done to advertise these changes and educate the public. The intention is to hire a summer student that will be involved in the education and monitoring process. Budget, the cost of the summer student to provide education and monitoring. Significant dates, early approval will enable early implementation. And sustainability, increased water conservation will result from the proposed amendments. Two options are being presented to Council. Council approves the recommended bylaw amendment number 1273.01, 2016 for first three readings. And two, Council denies the recommended amended bylaw number 1273.01, 2016 and provides the administration with further direction. And the administration is recommending option number 1 with approval of the first three readings of this bylaw amendment and subsequent final approval at the April 18th Council meeting will enable implementation of the amended prior to the peak watering season.
Thank you. Can I, as you were reading this, can we just go back to the changes number 2? It's the hours, and I'm a little bit confused about this. The sprinkling was changed to 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., a decrease of 1 hour.
That should be 7 p.m. I had it switched
right,
around.
and
That's
so the second one should be 7 p.m. to midnight instead of, okay, that's where we just need to change that. You're quite right.
and that's the way
That
the
makes more
bylaw is
sense.
worded. I just
Okay.
had it wrong in the report, and
Okay.
that's a come I was thinking that
Yes,
doesn't make sense.
I know, it didn't make sense. Okay, so we'll change that. Thank you. And then I quickly looked in the bylaw and I couldn't find it fast enough. Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anybody that has any questions or would like to make a motion about this? It's basically the same bylaw as the one we just passed for 8 and 9.
I think I did it before.
Okay. Councillor Youngberg? Councillor King? Any concerns, any questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. That's done. And next, we have the 5-year financial amendment bylaw. Have we already done that, Mr. Zackel? No, we need to do that one. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So before Council is a 5-year financial plan amendment bylaw 1317.01, 2016. Section 165.2 of the Community Charter states the financial plan may be amended by bylaw at any time. A financial plan must set out the proposed expenditures by the municipality, proposed revenue sources, total proposed transfers between funds. The information must set out for each of the 5 years covered under the financial plan. The Act requires certain particulars must be included, however, the amount of detail is a matter for local determination. The financial plan must not plan for a deficit. The total proposed revenue sources plus transfers from other funds must not exceed the total proposed expenditures and transfers to other funds. Our overview. Enclosed is a proposed 5-year financial plan amendment bylaw 1317.01, 2016 for Council's consideration. The purpose of this amending financial plan is to include projects that Council have approved that require a financial plan amendment. Changes that were made to account for the new cost sharing for the fire protection between the town of Osoyoos, Osoyoos Rural Fire Protection District, and Osoyoos Indian Band, and to remove the debt financing for the fire hall for 2016, as the borrowing will not take place until the fall of 2016, and the first debt payments will happen in 2017. In addition, the 5-year water capital projects were amended to include the changes as referenced earlier in the meeting with respect to the rural water twinning project, and a grant was awarded to the town for this project. These changes do not affect any fees or charges or taxes or tax rates as previously agreed to by Council. Public consultation requirements. Section 166 of the Community Charter requires Council to undertake a process of public consultation regarding a proposed financial plan before it's adopted. The Act does not specify the format of public consultation process, and it may be varied at Council's discretion to suit the local community. The financial information is available on the town's website. An opportunity for the public to provide input can be given prior to Council's adopting the financial plan amendment bylaw. Under the community, a significant amount of capital projects are planned for 2016 that will enhance the community and improve the infrastructure of the town and rural service areas. Organizationally, there's no changes. Budget, updates to the budget to include the changes as referenced above. Significant dates, public input into the financial plan after first 3 readings and prior to council's consideration for adoption. Sustainability, working to ensure maintaining levels of service for the community and financial sustainability for the town. Options before council. Option 1, for council to give first 3 readings to 5-year financial plan amendment bylaw 1317.01 2016. Option 2, for council to make further amendments to 5-year financial plan bylaw 1317 2016. Option 3, to defer making any decision until the next regular meeting of council. Option 4, to not change the 5-year financial plan 1317 2016. And the recommendation for council is option number 1.
Good, thank you. Council, Carol?
Yeah, I'd just like to make the motion for option number 1, please.
And Councillor Rhodes, any other concerns? All in favor? Thank you very much, Mr. Zach. We've done a lot of work on getting that ready for us, so we appreciate it.
Thank you.
So everybody voted for it. You got that? Okay. So next is business number 1, which is a report that has just been added to this on invasive mussel permanent stations. Mr. Romanko.
Thank you, Mayor McCardoff. Attached are 2 press releases relating to the BC government's announcement this week that permanent stations will be set up to fight the invasion of invasive mussels. This topic is being added to the agenda to assess council's satisfaction with the decision to make Penticton the permanent station versus placing the station at or around the Osoyoos border crossing. In previous discussions on this matter, council was supportive of the need for this type of service. However, the location at the Osoyoos border crossing was also discussed. Council may wish to seek out additional information or have the mayor address any concerns at the next Osoyoos at the next OBWB meeting. The community will benefit from this type of service being available. However, concerns may exist with boats that cross at the border and use Osoyoos Lake. A portable service may provide limited security for Osoyoos Lake. No organizational, no budget, no significant dates. In terms of sustainability, community sustainability is dependent on saving Osoyoos Lake from this mussel invasion. 3 options are being provided for council. The first being council directs the administration to send a letter under the mayor's signature to the provincial government seeking an explanation for the rationale for a permanent station in Penticton versus a major border crossing in Osoyoos and clarification on the level of service the portable system will provide Osoyoos Lake. 2, council requests that the mayor take identified issues or concerns relating to the station placement in the next OBWB meeting. And 3, no action being taken by council on this matter. Administration recommends number 1 and 2. This service is important to the future of Osoyoos Lake and may have provided the opportunity for more employment in Osoyoos. Therefore, additional information would be helpful to gain greater support for the Penticton location.
Thank you very much. This was added because we just saw this come out in the press the other day. I am at a Okanagan Basin Water Board meeting tomorrow in Vernon, so that's why we added it on here, and I just need to do some feedback. So, Councillor Youngberg.
Very much in support option number 1 and 2. Since we have just experienced some traffic from Arizona with boats that BC people took down to the Arizona Lake Mead is completely contaminated with mussels, and without checking those boats when they come back in the months of April and May is just absolutely devastating to our area, in my estimation. That's just my opinion.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes.
Well, this is a bit of a dilemma that we're facing here. This is absolutely a good thing that they're stepping forward and putting the station in, but I can't support. I mean, I don't understand why they would put it in the location that they want, and that's really what I have a problem with. The best defense against these is to start where your authority begins. That clearly is at the border. We have jurisdiction, we have room there, we have people that have begun to be trained already. They've already stopped 1 or 2 boats that I'm aware of with those mussels in it. How ridiculous is it to have it in a center that's so far away from the first entry point in our district? Not only could those individuals travel in other directions, we all know you can go east-west, take those mussels and those darn invasive species to other places, not just our lake or the Okanagan Lake or anything north. I just don't get it. We need to step up to the plate and really dispute the logic for putting it in Penticton. This has nothing to do with us wanting, economic development boost or people working here on it. The common sense, the real world application for this thing is let's stop it at the border where our jurisdiction begins, not 80 or 90 kilometers north of the border where those people that have those on their boats could travel anywhere in this province. I just don't get it. It's just a bad decision in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Councillor Campbell?
I think an explanation would be interesting because sitting at the table, knowing what we know or having read what we've read, I can't understand for the life of me why that wouldn't be common sense, that this would be at the border.
Well, there is I did look through my agenda for tomorrow for my meeting, and I've got it on my desk, didn't bring it in here. There were a couple of letters that had been sent to OBWB because it was they were the push behind having the permanent station set up. And one of them from Department of Fisheries and Oceans, I believe his name is Hunter Tutu, and he's a new minister, I think, recently. And he says in there the only positive thing is that he agrees that these stations should be set up, but they weren't announced at that time that he wrote the letter. But he said that Border Services people are being trained to catch this now. So we can kind of only hope that certainly we've already had some boats stopped at the border here by alert Border Services people. I will definitely bring this up tomorrow if sounds like it's the...
Yeah. Having said that, I'd start with a motion for option number 1.
Yeah,
I've already moved.
Okay, do we have to do one at a time?
Number 1 and number 2. So we didn't have a seconder for it. So are you seconding that? Okay. So definitely we need a letter sent to, I don't know, a whole ton of people probably, to state that we are concerned about not having it in Osoyoos. I also need to tell you that I've talked to the sailing club here, and I said to them, if you're having a regattas here, have you thought about putting something on your forms that you send out? And in fact, they had already thought this, and from OBWB, there's a kind of a badge, the lingo I'm not sure on, that you can attach to your form from about mussels, and they are already doing that, and I've talked to them a couple of times, so they're aware, but all it takes is one boat. So we need to be really proactive in this, and I think it's wonderful that they have 8 permanent stations set up already, but for them to say that out of Penticton they're dealing with Osoyoos, Midway, and Caledon, I didn't quite catch that. I'm not sure where they came up with Caledon, and I'm sure that Midway has some boats coming across, but certainly not like Osoyoos. No. So the motion is for number 1 and number 2, that we send a letter, and that I will definitely bring this up tomorrow at our meeting. Okay, all in favor?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's done. So we have cash requirements. Is that where we are now? Mrs. Hilson? She knows. She's got it all figured out. Okay. So to report on general net payroll and Sun Bowl Arena financial accounts, to report on expenditures from accounts payable for council approval, and payroll information for council to receive. So general cash requirements were for $199,757.90, and Sun Bowl cash requirements of $4,521.46, and those two will be adopted by consensus. And net payroll accounts of $71,985.95, and that is received for information. You don't need a motion for that. No? Okay, good. Next is committee reports, and I don't think we have any of those. And next is our CIO report.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Just a few of the activities the administration has been involved in the last couple of weeks. Planning continues for the volunteer appreciation, which is set for April 9th at the Sonora Community Center. So everybody, just a little reminder that to provide an RSVP. The renovations over at the Lions Playground are now complete, and we now have a dedicated playground area for tots, and that gives this whole area kind of a tot right through to age 11, 12 years old for activity. The latest addition was $60,000, and $40,000 of that came from the Enabling Accessibility Fund of the Department of Employment and Social Development of the federal government. The rest came from our local town contribution. So also the surface, the landing surface is also fully designated as accessibility approved as well. So saw a lot of kids out there on the new play equipment. Minor ball kicks off this week, starting on Tuesdays at Desert Park, and also our spring sessions start with a number of new fall programs, and the Marina Moored slip licenses are filling up quickly. The Osprey Nest camera is now being offered through YouTube, and it went live April 1st. So if anybody sees them land, let us know, and we can send out an e-news. In terms of corporate services, work continues on the annual town report. We've also involved in the hiring of a new mechanic. Dave Reed will be starting on May 2nd, and Dave comes to us from Langley. And interestingly enough, he and his wife were planning to move to Osoyoos. They had bought a house already, and he's latched on to the mechanic's job here. The boat trailer parking permits are being organized for distribution to the hotels and motels. Finance, the rural sewer billings have been mailed out. The rural water billings are in the process of being generated. The parcel tax rolls are being prepared, and account review and reconciliations are being worked on as well. Myself, I met with the Ministry of Transportation this last week to discuss the stormwater sewer project and Main Street improvement schedule. And although not official, it kind of looks like we're looking at a overlay through town here in 2019. We're talked about having the new stormwater reconstruction done the year before that, and also we talked also about the downtown revitalization and the scheduling for that, which is part of our business planning to initiate in fall. So certainly Ministry of Transportation is on side, and they want to work with us in a scheduled manner, and also looking at providing some funding for that as well, and offered some good advice in that particular area. We continue to work on the Richter property project, including developing a critical path for the project. We should have that pretty quick, so that we have all the activities lined up to be completed in our timely fashion. I did an on-site fire hall visit. Everything seems to be on time, on budget. We'll have another one of our monthly scheduled meetings on Friday, so we'll find out if there's any issues or problems that they foresee. And they're working on, they should be doing the second story of the wood construction, probably starting next week as well. Capital planning meeting to review project status and implementation schedules also happened, and we continue to work on the Destination Osoyoos tourism agreement, and that's my report for today.
Thank you very much. We need to have that accepted. Councillor King, Councillor Youngberg, all in favor? Thank you. And now we'll go on to councillors' reports, and Councillor Youngberg, you're first.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I think we just have to talk about really supporting the Daffodil campaign for the month of April. And there's little yellow daffodils all over town. Just make a donation and wear one in support. And also you'll see some live daffodils on different counters and different restaurants that have supported the campaign. And I think that's great, so hopefully everybody will. That's about all I have to say for this week.
Thank you. And we're all wearing daffodils. You can see that. Councillor Rhodes.
Well, I'm going to take a pass this week. I have absolutely nothing to report at all. So.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Campbell.
I actually have nothing to report today.
Really?
Really, it's a
You
first.
guys, I can't believe it. Okay. Councillor King, have you got anything?
I guess the whole town really knows about it, but the school decision tomorrow night at 6 o'clock in the little theater, I don't know how I can say come early because I don't think the doors are really going to open until 6 o'clock. So there may
6:30.
Oh, 6:30, I've just been informed, so that's even worse because it does supposed to start at 7. So again, I'm sure the whole town will be aware of it.
And it's not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Tuesday. It's Wednesday. Wednesday, April the 6th.
We'll just leave all the comments to our mayor.
Yeah, I know. It's certainly in everybody's mind. So we're certainly hoping that. Fingers crossed. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say a couple things. One is that we had a wonderful celebration of Easter extravaganza on March the 26th, and weren't we lucky that particular day was sunny and it was not windy, because the next day was cold and rainy, and so we had a perfect day and a wonderful turnout of people. So thank you to everybody who came and volunteered. And I know Councillor King was out there flipping not hamburgers but pancakes and cooking bacon, and everybody had a great time. So we thank everybody involved. And all of those kinds of activities that we have in town are due to the wonderful volunteers that make this town what it is. And so on April the 9th, which is this Saturday, there is a volunteer luncheon. And we often have, 125, 150 people there. And I know that's not all the volunteers in town, but those are the ones who are able to make it. And we are happy to provide thanks to them and give out special awards to special individuals and groups that have gone over and above in the past year. So that's at the Sonora Center, and it is on Saturday at 12 o'clock. If you belong to a group and you haven't been invited yet, please check with the group because they were all sent out invitations, and there's probably still a little bit of time to get your name on the list. So thank you to all the wonderful volunteers in this town. And there's another, and besides wearing our daffodils, there's another event that is on April the 16th, which is a Saturday, and that is the Seroptimus Breakfast and Fashion Show, and that is at Waterfront. Watermark. Well, I was thinking waterfront. No, that's an I. That's the eye care. Watermark. And it's at 9 o'clock in the morning. The Seroptimus in Osoyoos have been a very vital part of this community, volunteers, of course, for the past 30 years. And it's always a wonderful event. We have a breakfast that's catered and fashions provided by many of the local stores. So please see a Seroptimist or find out if you'd like tickets. Give me a call. I'd be happy to help. And I think that's all that we have for today. So thank you, everyone. We need a resolution to close this meeting. Thank you. Councillor Campbell, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you.